right, we're in session. Any of y'all have any items from the public? All right, need a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Nope.
Okay. If there is no discussion, we're gonna ask for a vote. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nope.
Good to go.
That's that four-letter word, nope.
There's nobody here but us, so I figured.
Hey, we're having fun.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hess, we're in session 6 of the Board of Review and Equalization, so.
Yeah, we don't, Tammy's got a couple changes she wanted to submit. I want to ask Penny, because I hadn't heard, the 3:15 appointment we had for the hearing, what's going on with that?
On email, have to move him,
He's coming Thursday.
give him here Thursday, 12:30.
Okay,
And then we have to meet again on, we'll meet Tuesday.
for the following Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday.
Okay,
And I think I had a luncheon scheduled at 1 o'clock on Thursday.
Thursday.
This Thursday.
I believe.
We have executive session at 1.
Well, no, and that's fine. I just gotta make sure I reach out. Huh?
We have executive session scheduled at 1.
Well, maybe it's the following week.
Maybe it was last week.
No, Joseph Quansenberg was wanting to meet me
Oh.
for lunch, so we'll have to postpone
I
it.
will do it.
good, all right. One other thing, Norwood, have you heard anything on quad from, Kathy Sherman? I don't want to bug you with this, but I just want to.
No, I
It
haven't
hasn't
heard
been
a damn
changed.
thing.
Hasn't been changed in the book yet, or anything.
I haven't heard anything. Here's what. Call her and tell her she can come up this Thursday or Tuesday and explain. And if she, it's just not.
I know, I understand what you're saying. She should be here to represent what the changes she made, to explain it to the council so they can make a decision on it. She don't like to come over here for some reason. I don't know.
Because it's so long to get here. It doesn't matter the same distance for us to go there.
Well, no, she lives in Martinsburg,
No, she doesn't.
close by here.
She's in Hampshire County, isn't she?
But she's in Charleston a lot, so she's down there at some run, but she lives close by here. She's out at the state tax department at the industrial park all the time. That's her office. She's local.
Well, maybe we could ask her. Can we fit her in Thursday
I'll call her.
or
I'll call her
Tuesday?
and find out.
One of the two. Tuesday. But we'll deliberate that. You'd have to hear her first.
I'll give her a call and see if I can get her. to come in
Just tell her
Thursday.
the council is not persuaded by what they've seen in the emails, and please come and
State of the case.
Yeah.
tell us
Yeah.
what she.
Well, we wanted to see some, we were asking for some comps, wasn't it? Wasn't that what we asked for initially, to see some comps, where she came up with the information on it?
Because one was industrial, one was business, how she had to do.
Isn't that what you generally do?
She
Put
just, well, yeah, but I think she just took a economic obsolescence minus. I don't know where she got the numbers at, but I think that way hard keyed the numbers in system.
Does that
I
work
don't-
for you?
Huh?
Does that work for you? Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, so you can hard key, but we don't do on their stuff.
Right.
But I think she just took a percentage maybe as,
But
as an economic.
if you was to do a market analysis of the property that she's talking about, it's gonna be more than what she's putting the price on the property.
I don't
Of
know.
improved property,
Yeah, we don't get
including
to see
parking
it in
lot,
that.
site work and all that stuff.
Well, maybe we should ask Larry to pull some properties that are in the same neighborhoods of both of them, so that we can look at the land values that they have as well as.
The problem for us is this. The assessor has the right to reach an agreement with a taxpayer. The state tax department has that same right with regard to industrial properties. That's what they did.
Well, the
They
problem,
reached an agreement.
the problem about the whole thing is, they see 2% of the tax bill. We see 18%, the school board sees 80%. Who's it gonna affect? Not the state.
That's right, but that's the law, is what I'm telling you.
We're not gonna go there.
I'll give her a call and see if I can
Give
get
her a call, ask her to come out here and plead her case.
Okay.
Tell her if she doesn't do it,
I mean, last year we found that they made a mistake, right?
Doesn't the law also say that this board's gotta prove it?
Once the books are before you. You have to
once the
approve the
books are
changes.
for you. Now, what happened this time? They didn't get it done, right?
They
Is
missed
that
the
why?
deadline.
We just checked her values, Larry and I just checked her values in the initial assessment roll. They do not match what is currently on the system. She changed the values after that assessment was printed. I don't know when.
She-
In there.
She forgot to do it when she was supposed to do it. That's why it's in your.
That happened last year too.
So she'll come and do it, or she won't, and we'll leave it where it was. Or raise it. You have the right to raise it.
Right. So I guess y'all gotta get us, I know you don't do industrial, but we need something. We can't just say, well, we don't agree, we gotta have some documentation.
I'll get with them over
Well,
wrap this up, we gotta have
can't we have,
discussion.
don't y'all have access to other industrial property in the county that the state, you don't have no access to it at all?
They're on the cannabis.
Right, so you can do a
We can pull
comparison,
them up and look at it.
sure, and then give those comparisons to us. I mean, you'll have Macy's, you'll have P&G, you'll have all that stuff.
Macy's is commercial. P&G is industrial.
Okay. We have, okay. All right,
My turn?
your turn, Miss Edgar.
Okay. So 3 changes for today. It's 2 parcels though. The first parcel is Jarrettstown map 12, parcel 12.1, Kenneth Dabbs, Paul Jones, Robin Furden. And what happened was there had been a mobile home on the property. We received a phone call, or I think they actually were in the office, and said that they no longer own that mobile home. So we took the mobile home off and moved the mobile home to personal property so that the previous assessment was $43,980. The new assessment without the mobile home is $20,640.
So now they get a personal property tax bill on the mobile home, is that?
The owner of the mobile home will receive the bill
Okay,
for the mobile home on personal property.
all right,
The second parcel is Hedgesville map 34P, parcel 41. This is a class split. This was a property that, when the appraiser went out to look at it, from what I've been told by Doc was the one who actually went out and visited it last week or the week before. We had too big a section of the house as being used for the business she runs. I think it's like a bookkeeping, accounting, CPA business from her home. So what we did was we adjusted both sides of the split so that the class 2 portion was $100,140. It's now $109,610, and the class 3 portion was $20,220, and it is now $10,750. So one went down, one went up because we had to reallocate the
but
numbers.
in the long run, her tax bill's going down, like,
On the class 3 section, the assessment did drop basically in half.
right. Okay,
That's all the changes I have for today.
all right, need a motion to,
Move to accept the changes made by the assessor.
motion been made, second, any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go call her right now.
Thank you.
Hey Larry, why don't you go give her a call?
I'm gonna go call her.
Would you do that? Better yet, why don't you give her a call?
I'm gonna see if I can get her.
Hey, Larry.
We're all full of
Hey,
it
Larry,
today.
nip it in the bud.
But go ahead and give her a call.
I'm gonna give her a call.
Glad you got to see us, Tammy.
Come on, let's see that.
All right, next on our agenda is Mr. Davis for all the county administrator for the county council budgets. Mr. Davis will start off with 401, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. 401, which is your county council budget, which contains primarily employees assigned to the council office. The total budget for the current fiscal year decreased. The proposed budget for the current fiscal year has decreased by $26,401 or 1.98%. If you'll recall, when Tim Saya made his budget presentation, we are recommending that the recovered resource employees and some small operating expenses be moved to account 402. The total budget submitted for recovery services is $330,469, and that budget would be 100% grant funded. There would be no general fund involved. We wanted to do that for purposes of developing a call center for purposes of reporting. In addition to removing those employees, the council did authorize the addition of a deputy legal director. Total cost of that position is budgeted is $146,387. As you look at the operating expenses, just a few changes recommended. I did decrease, or am recommending that we decrease travel from $7,000 to $5,000. That's currently at 14.64%. Recommending that we increase postage from $150 to $2,000.
Wow, that's really good.
Well, postage under the courthouse account though?
It is, but postage, as you see it in the operating budget, is not the postage that's run through the 3 postage machines. It's
Okay.
postage, for example, if Norwood needs to FedEx something overnight, it's those extraordinary expenses that we pay for FedEx and things like that. We budgeted $150 this year. We have revised the budget to $1,150. That currently budget at $1150 is currently at 48.96%. We also use that for if we're doing some kind of termination notice and we want the employee to sign for it, we find that FedEx is a little bit more reliable getting it if it's something that we have to have next day delivery and good documentation.
So it's not just all Norwood's fault.
Oh, it's not all Norwood's fault, although it's primarily
You look at
Norwood
it that way,
and
and you look at, having the second legal counsel on board, going from $150 to $2,000, boy, that's a lot of work.
Yep. Yeah.
Advertising and legal stays the same. I am recommending that we increase training and education from 2,000 to 3,000. That's primarily due to the addition of our other attorney. They both have continuing legal education credits that they have to get during the course of the year. That account is currently at 61.91%. Everything else remains the same. So in your account 401, I'm recommending a personnel decrease of $27,251, an operating expense increase of $850 for a total net decrease of $26,401.
So the operating side of the recovery resource center was very minimal.
It is, and everything is reimbursed by grants.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Davis?
Next one is 408, which is the statewide computer system. If you'll recall, this is the cost that is charged to us by the state tax department to maintain the assessor's property valuation system. It's a statewide property valuation system that all the assessors use. The bill that we receive is based on projected activity within that account. And as you know, it's never, ever, ever right. They give us a projection, although this year they haven't even bothered giving us a projection. But typically they give us a projection and it's wrong, and we end up putting more money in there through state budget revision. For fiscal year 2019-20, Um, the state recommended $87,804. We did budget $150,000. However, they are behind in their billing, so they've only billed through about 19.14% of the total cost, so we're anticipating a fairly large bill at any time.
Well, looks like, Mr. Davis, that it was 2 years in a row that the 87,000, and I thought it was supposed to be higher.
It was.
That's what I'm saying. They're really behind.
Well, and the 87,000 that you have in the budget is what we budgeted. It's not what we necessarily adjusted it to, because we have had to make adjustments mid-fiscal year to make sure that we don't end in the deficit. We have not received the estimate yet. I've been in contact with them several times, and they said they haven't gotten the notices out. So
And this is something we have no choice, we have to do it.
we have to pay it. So I'm recommending that it just remain at 150.
So this isn't even a swag, it's just a wag, right?
It is. Yep. Magistrate Court, Department 415. That's the $75,000 account that has to be established in order to get the reimbursement from the West Virginia Supreme Court for family court. We do have a corresponding revenue account. We have collected rent to date of $47,815.69, or 63.75%. They typically run in arrears, but for whatever reason, they seem to be on top of reimbursements this year.
Is this
So
based on circuit judges? or
it's
magistrates?
supposed to be based on square footage.
Just
Go ahead
to
and
let
go.
the legal counsel know, this is the one that Mon County challenged in Supreme Court and increased their rent.
Yeah, Mon County did challenge it last year.
Supreme Court said it would never happen again, but they got market value rent for their, or close to, for their courthouse space.
There's a real good argument to be made when you just spend as much as we did to upgrade the heat system.
Not only that, we're getting ready to do the Crawford building, so that's all that.
I mean, if you just depreciate the heat system on it, it's not good, the rent's not gonna pay for the heat system,
No.
let alone the square footage.
Yeah. So we put 75,000 in there just to show that we do budget for it, but we never expend anything out of it.
That's a little bit of that postage we're gonna spend, isn't it?
It is.
It's on 415,
415, yes, sir.
proposed
I
this
took
year,
you-
requested
I took you serious
78.
on that text last week.
Pardon me?
Dog
We have
Brody show
requested
today.
78.
It's got 78, not 75.
It should be 75.
But on a serious note, I mean, Mon did challenge it and they upped their rent. But the Supreme Court was pretty serious about saying it would never happen again.
How can it not ever happen again when they already set a precedence?
It's not a precedent.
Actually, the budget
Precedent's
the
whatever
budget
the
sheet's
court
wrong.
says.
It should be 75. We're not increasing it.
I'll just mark
But
that
yet they
down.
want
Yes, sir.
our court system to continue to grow. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying. It is what it is, but at the same time, it's another example that the state's not carrying it away.
That's, that 75,000 was based on 3 magistrates 40 years ago.
Right. And if we end up with these large numbers in the extra building, my goodness.
And
That's when we were still down
we've
in
got
John Street building.
75,000 reimbursement as long as I've been with the county.
Sounds like there's an argument to be
And
made.
they said we get Crawford building online, we'll get 87 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
SIS.
$12,000 for $14,
Don't get anything.
$13 million worth of
Yeah.
remodel.
Not enough.
Just family.
Return.
That's good if you get it.
It's gonna take a couple of years.
Yeah, for man.
Just let it go. Alright. Alright, we can talk about this all day, but I guess the insurance program,
423.
so new,
Many years ago, not for some time, as you can see, at least for the past 10 years, we have put money into the insurance program budget and have not done that for a number of years. We have used this Department 423 in the past use it to budget potential employee benefit increases. PERS, we have received notification that PERS and the deputy retirement system will remain the same. So our employer contribution to PERS will be 10%, and our employee contribution to the deputy retirement system will remain at 12%. We have been negotiating with our employee benefit providers. Delta Dental has renewed. We have the renewal in hand for Delta Dental, a 2-year extension without any increase. We've also been working with MetLife and VSP and expect those renewals at any time. Again, based on our experience, we don't expect any increase in either one of those. Our health insurance is, as you know, is the most costly portion of our employee benefits. In fiscal year 16-17, we did see a decrease of about 4.31% in our health insurance rates. In 17-18, we also saw a decrease of about 3.8%. So we did see, because of favorable claims experience, some rate decreases. In 18-19, there was no increase. We were able to negotiate the same level of benefits with no increase. For the current fiscal year, we saw an initial increase, if you'll recall, of 2.78% in health insurance. We did make some minor changes to prescription drug and emergency care services copays, and we were able, because of that little bit of a tweaking, we were able to get the increase down to a 0% increase. The current budget, we budget $8,148 per full-time employee. The actual cost is $8,103 because if you recall, 2 or 3 years ago, as we started to see the decline in our benefits, we didn't decrease the per employee cost because we knew that it was cyclical and eventually it would go back up. So we budget $81.48. The actual cost is $81.03, so it's a difference of about $45. Our total budget for employee benefits is about $2.2 million for health insurance. That's MetLife, that's group life insurance, group vision, and health insurance. Of that $2.2 million, about $2 million is attributable directly to our health insurance. Our current health insurance experience has claims running about 90% of premium. So it's up about 10% higher than we were where we were last year at this time. So as you've probably seen from some early emails, we're in negotiation with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I certainly don't think the final number will land at 20%, but as you know, 20% of $2 million is about a $400,000 increase. So what I'm recommending is that we set aside $250,000, almost like a health insurance contingency account, in anticipation of any health insurance increases that I can't negotiate out. We know we've had some catastrophic illnesses. The good news is we're a small organization. The bad news is we're a small organization, but being small, we know where our big claims are. Employee that had a dependent that just couldn't lift the bypass operation this year. Have some employees that are being treated for a number of pretty serious illnesses. So we look at the catastrophic illnesses. Any claim over $100,000, we'll sit down with the underwriters from Blue Cross Blue Shield. We'll see how probable that claim will be reoccurring. For example, if someone has cancer and their treatments run over $100,000, but as a result of the cancer, they pass away, they die. We know that claim is not going to occur again. But if someone has cancer and they're treated for cancer and they survive, even though they're considered a cancer survivor, the mortality tables and the tables that are used by underwriting build in some probability that it may recur again. So our claims experience is trending adversely. We still have 2 months to go before we get our final renewal. We won't have the renewal
Have it.
probably till March.
You don't think we'll have it when we set the budget?
We'll have, no, we
Okay.
typically do not.
But if we have a good feel on it by then.
Should. Yep,
So basically, with $2.2 million of premiums, they're paying out about $2 million.
correct. So I just put $250,000 in our, what I call the insurance account. If we need it, it'll be there. If, we may have to tweak it, we may have to increase some deductibles. We've worked really hard to get our wages up to where they need to be competitive. As we know from Andy coming on board, there are some municipalities out there that pay 100% of employee and dependent coverage. We don't do that. I'd still like to put us in the position where we can pay the lion's share of what I call the high level employee only insurance.
Yeah, and there's a way, I would rather side of not asking to do.
Right.
I think the insurance is one way for retention. I think that
We have employees that come, and Penny can attest to this more than I can. We have employees that come from the private sector that see the level of benefits that we have and what we pay, and they're thrilled. They can't get over it. And the other option may be, I put the $250,000 in next year's budget as a new expense. One of the things that we may be able to do later on this year, if we don't want to build it into a new expense, we could encumber, because by the time we get to the point where we can encumber funds, by the end of this year, instead of putting it in as an expense next year, we could encumber the funds in this year's budget to be carried over to next year. So there are a couple different approaches that we can take with that.
all right.
So just a suggestion.
Courthouse account.
The courthouse account, as the council is aware, let me find my notes here. The courthouse account is your operating expense account for fleet, fuel, utilities, postage, property casualty, short insurance, etc. There are no personnel line items in this budget.
It's not necessarily the fleet though, is it? Because is the fleet not in the capital outlay now?
The fleet fuel expense.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, the fuel for our
The one,
fleet's all
the thing that makes them go.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the gas.
The motion lotion.
The current budget is set at $2.9 million with 62.56% expended to date. I am requesting an increase of $120,000 or 4.14% to $3,020,000. And it's attributable to two specific budget lines. The biggest is our insurance and bond. That's the line that we pay our property casualty insurance out of. So we have the large group property casualty policy that takes care of our fleet, our general liability, our police professional liability, all of our building and contents, our crime. If you'll recall, we added some additional cybersecurity protection this year, as well as increased our liability levels. We have submitted the renewal application to the risk pool. We also have received notification that our workers' compensation experience modification factor is actually scheduled to go down, but very, very slightly, from 1.28 to 1.27, which means that our loss experience has been so negative over the past 3 years that they're actually charging us about 27% more than the standard premium. Also, just keep in mind that we have increased our payroll the current fiscal year by $450,000 for the non-public safety compensation increases, and we've also added some new grant-funded positions. The approved changes to the general liability and the cybersecurity coverages adds premium of about $60,000. So all of those things combined. The good news is our fleet insurance is not individually rated. It's rated from the perspective of the pool. If we were on a standalone policy with Nationwide or any other property casualty coverage with the experience that we have, we'd probably either be canceled or be getting a pretty substantial premium increase.
These figures are as of 6 months.
And you can see that we've expended of our total budget for property casualty, we've expended almost the entire budget. Contracted services, I am recommending that we increase that from $80,000 to $100,000. That was revised to $100,000 through state budget revision earlier this year, and we currently have a deficit balance in that budget of about $2,600. Utility coverages, I did maintain at $595,000, but with what we're seeing just recently in our electric bill for this building, we expect our utilities to probably go down just a little bit. But the two main factors in our courthouse account will be our property casualty insurance and a little bit with contracted services.
I'm thinking I would like to see that number just go up, creep up a little.
The property casualty for the overall budget.
The overall budget. Somewhere around 3.25, somewhere around there. Everybody has a problem with that.
This is
What
all
would
of
you wanna
these
do
are,
that for?
Because there's a lot of stuff that comes out of that courthouse account. For one, just look at our track record right now when our
Accidents, yes.
accidents from just one account. Every week there's something going on.
It's not amazing.
I can just see where that needs to go up.
What is the insurance and bonds payments that are remaining? Are those front loaded?
That's in the building stuff.
we pay all of our property casualty up front. It's usually within the first 3 months of the fiscal year they ask for it. They do allow us with workers' comp to put that into equal payments, but the property casualty, the liability, the insurance, they ask that to be paid within the first 90 days of the fiscal year policy period.
So you just have half of the workman's comp base that you have to pay left out.
I think we probably paid, have we paid all the workers' comp? We have one more payment. And we typically, because we carry over a pretty healthy encumbered fund balance, we have the past couple of years, when we get the bill, we typically pay 100% of the property casualty experience except.
What's our mod factor on the workman's comp, do you know?
It's going down from 1.28 to 1.27. So we're still at 27% over the.
Takes 3 years to clean that, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And what we have to do is drop off a bad year and have a good year.
Just take courthouse to 3. I still have a workshop, but I'd like to start that.
Okay.
I be honest with you, I'm a little questionable on account 4. I would rather have a little bit prepared more so than what you've got.
With insurance? Okay.
And I really don't want to take anything away from
do that.
But we've done so well with our, trying to get our wages up. I hate to be
Give and
for
take.
it to come back and bite us because we take away a benefit.
So are you anticipating one of these other line items that's gonna go up that you're talking about, that additional, couple $100,000? Where are you thinking the line item is gonna
I
be
traffic
required?
service, right?
Yeah, there's multiple bands. So I want to be ready for it. I don't want to end up being short. Other building, okay?
Sure.
Other buildings.
Other buildings, that's our building commission expenses account. That's primarily our principal and interest payments for our bonds. We currently have our balance of bonds as of June 30th of 2019 was slightly, just very, very slightly more than $37 million. So this is bond payments, accounting, and audit fees that we pay on behalf of the building commission. Not recommending an increase again this year from the current budget of $2,859,500. Bond payment lines remain at $2,835,000. The principal and interest that's scheduled for payment next year, $1,756,452 in principal, $875,681 in interest, for a total of $2,632,106, which leaves us with a little bit of a surplus of about $202,894. Spent to date is slightly more than 1.6 million, or 56.99%. Professional services, I'm recommending that that stay at $20,000. That takes care of any accounting, legal fees that we incur, as well as fees to keep Emma updated. Emma is the electronic municipal market access. It's actually it's an electronic database where if we decide to go out this year to finance the day report center to the tune of $3.6 or $3.7 million, the first thing that interested companies will do will go to Emma, and they'll see whether we're paying making payments timely. Emma also, and West Banco does our Emma. We used to do our Emma updates ourselves. West Banco actually agrees to do our Emma reporting for about $3,500. So what we do, as soon as we get our financial statements that are approved by the council, we send them to West Banco, and they upload it to Emma. As soon as we get our audited financial statements for both the building commission and the county commission, we send it to West Banco, and they upload it to Emma. So that $20,000 pays for accounting, legal fees, and the $3,500 to West Banco to maintain Emma for us. That way, we're not taking a risk that Penny and I, during the course of being busy, just forget to update it to Emma. So they do look at, financing companies do look at Emma to see how, for example, our best rating is, we upgrade that to Emma. The last time that we financed the improvements to 802, once we got our best rating from AM Best, we did our Standard & Poor, we did increase, or we did upload that to Emma. So all of our financial information is out there.
Do we have an AM Best rating?
Yes.
It's our
A plus.
or get that plus with those guys.
Yep. Current spent to date, 13,446 for 67.23%. Also recommending that our audit costs remain at $4,500. We just ended a 3-year audit contract with Tetrick and Bartlett. The cost for the annual cost for that contract was $3,900, and the state auditor's office collects 8% of anything we spend in audit costs. We actually have to pay an 8% stipend to the state auditor's office. So for the current year, we paid $4,212 in total audit costs. Current budget is currently at 57.12%. We will have to have some discussions soon on how, if you want to move forward on 520 South Raleigh Street and how we intend to pay for that.
That's what we would incorporate that in this courthouse.
Well, we have the $202,894 surplus that's earmarked for payment. That should pretty much, because the payments that we make on financing probably won't be for the total fiscal year, so that should pretty much take care of that.
Now, once we have the Cam Secret's cost on bank qualified bond, we have on a very, the architect is saying that they're thinking that that job could be done by the end of the year. However, we think that's very, very aggressive, I believe. But once we borrow the money, our payments start at that point in time, right?
It does, or as we, particularly, it depends on how we do it. I assume that the council's going to want to put out an RF queue, just like we have in the past. See whether there's any local banks that are interested in doing bank qualified lending. The other thing that you need to remember, we'll discuss as we get further into the process, you did a resolution, it's been almost a year ago, right? You did a resolution that allows us to recoup any expenses that we incur out of the general fund for design of either the Crawford building or 520. So
we have to broaden that spectrum on any other projects we're talking about. I mean, health department, we're looking at that, so we have that coming up. We have this building.
Design of the first floor, which will be the third phase of the architectural contract with
Which are doing a wonderful job.
they have been.
So do we have to add, can we add to that resolution?
That resolution is site specific, right?
Right.
So we have to have others.
Need to do it.
So in other buildings, I think we have a lot going on. And then my other question to you, of course, is to talk about uncertainty of the state radio system.
That's actually Gary's. We would set that money aside through the 911.
Okay, so that's coming out of 911. Right. Okay. I guess 520 is a concern of mine. Paperwork and all the legal stuff to get that going.
And remember, and I'll use bonds as an example. We float a bond issue. We decide early on whether, for example, if the bond issue is $3.7 million and we decide to use Bowles Rice and their fees are expected to be $100,000, because Doug, you see, and that's money.
It's a lot of money.
Well
a lot
spent.
of time. Correct. A lot of paperwork.
We have the option early on as to whether we want that $100,000 included in the bond, the bond issuance, or whether we want to pay that out of the general fund. And typically, we just roll it into the
And
bond
that's
issuance.
our taxes pay for that service, right, Andy?
Correct.
I'd focusing on 520. And what do you, on the courthouse account, what about the 24510?
I'm gonna take care of that out of this year's budget. I had the RFP on. As the council knows, when we renovated 510 South Raleigh Street, we actually had a roofing contractor.
Two contractors.
Yeah, did the assessment, and they said that membrane was good except for a little bit of patching. We should have just bit the bullet.
That's probably been 8 years ago almost now.
2012. So it has been 8
8 years has been pretty good.
So
We've been leaking the whole time. Just a little bit.
Only when it
Nothing, a
rains.
couple 5-gallon buckets up in the ceiling.
Doesn't show up on the floor.
Nothing, a couple 5-gallon buckets.
Doesn't show up on it.
So the intent is to have the roof completely removed. We got an estimate in August for a company to come in and put a new repair the bad roofing areas, and then just put a membrane over top of the existing membrane. The RFP that I put together is asking actually the old membrane be removed, and that the roof be repaired, and then asking for two options: one for a 10-year warranted roof, and one for 20. So, and I figure $500,000, about 500,000.
Actually, we're gonna favor the 20 years for sure.
Correct.
Now,
My hope is that we'll just pay for it out of this year.
You said call it the membrane. Are you talking about the insulated panels? Under the membrane?
Just
The membrane
the
itself.
membrane itself.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to, are you gonna get a square footage on
Repairs.
the repairs? So, do you have the cost
Yeah, we'll
already
do
in
that
place?
just like we did the senior services. Because we got the price for that, but then we also, not knowing what they were gonna get into, we did get a price per square foot.
And then the other thing we'll do is, I think on that roof too, they'll create walk areas to get to the HVAC units
Correct.
and stuff.
Yeah, the bid that we got just to kind of put a membrane over the membrane included that is about $100,000.
You can get, have you ever seen the panels they have? They actually have walk panels.
I think I
that you
did,
can-
yeah.
It's linkable.
Yeah, it's been about 8 years.
Right, you can get them to actually, and they're not really bad. I mean, they're like a 36-inch square panel for $35 a piece. I mean, that adds up, but
Is that something that gets put in with the hot tar?
no, that just lays right on top.
So here's to the new roof.
Yep, just lays right on top of the membrane and goes right on top. Yep, glued or,
Kind of almost like the carpet squares.
yep. Yep, but it goes right, gives you a walking path. that you
Yeah,
can-
something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Next one.
Just want to remind the council that we did have Department 436 for a while, which was rehab of property. That was the account that we had set up when we acted as our own general contractor for the rehab, the renovations to 510. We have gotten rid of that department altogether, but it still shows up in some of our previous budgets. I'd always like to bring that to the council's attention, that you have saved money over the years. First with establishing that department, and then now by abolishing it.
Well, the purpose was to abolish it was because of the not having to
Prevailing wage.
pay prevailing wage anymore.
Regional jail bill. Regional jail bill is currently set at $3 million. I left it at $3 million. Currently, spent to date through 7 months, we've paid out $1,496,836.52, or 49.89%. Our efforts with the establishment of Day Report Center, the increase in activity with community service and home confinement, as well as recovery services. If you'll remember, in fiscal year 16-17, our regional jail bill was $3,121,329. That decreased by 5.21% in fiscal year 17-18. We paid out $2,958,842. In 18-19, it went down further. Our regional jail bill for 18-19 was $2,895,691, and through the first 7 months of this fiscal year, we are $348,437, or 19.43% below last year at this time.
So we have seen early in the spring where it can blow up real quick too.
It can.
Well, plus the sheriff, he was in here himself saying that crimes are up. Asked the prosecutor, kind of like she didn't have documentation for sure to answer that, and guarantee it was going to be the right answer. So, and we know that there's some movement and some action down at the state level that's going to try to jeopardize our recovery effort.
I left it at $3 million.
Have any questions or concerns with that? The communication center of the money we give the central dispatch for non-emergency services.
That's the non-emergency dispatch expenses. If you look, we haven't spent anything out of that, and that's my fault.
Haven't cut the check yet?
We have not. We are, and I've been meaning to schedule it before the council. We've developed a job description for what we call teletype operators. It's kind of the first step towards call takers in our 911 center. If you'll remember when Margaret Hoagland retired, we actually merged Margaret's job with Mary Foster's job, and she's doing both of those. However, she can't keep up, or can barely keep up with the teletype demands. For example, Tim in the day report center, home confinement, need their services quite a bit, and sometimes there's a delay to the point where it hasn't been too long ago where Tim wanted to contract out to have that done. What we're going to propose in the very, very near future is that we hire 3 teletype, what we call teletype operators, probably 4, 1 to be assigned to each shift, at a cost of $46,355 per employee. So these employees will not only be our teletype operator for the shift, but they'll also be trained. We'll start to be developing a pool, because we'll have certain certifications that are built into the job description, so that if they really like that type of work, we'll start developing a pool for future 911
this will
operators.
be our first step towards the call taker.
Correct. And they would actually be located in those call taker stations as
Up
you
front.
first come into the 911 center up front. So, so I've included $300,000 in next year's budget, and that's what we anticipate using that for.
So they'll be county employees, or
They'll actually be 911 employees. So
reimbursed by us.
they will be, just like Mary. We bill Mary for $350,000 a year for rent for the lease space. She would bill us for these positions, just like we bill Baker Heights for our safer firefighters.
Yeah, and Mary's rent all inclusive.
It is.
Utilities.
It's triple net
and
lease.
upkeep.
Yep.
Wow.
Go in detail.
All right. I like that idea. I think that's heading in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
The great thing about it is to create a pool to be able to keep the staff that you need moving forward and be able to keep those, you know, just be able to cycle people through that position as
Yep.
well with an opportunity to move up as well.
I agree.
Well, we have turnover again.
We have had some turnover, and we're in the process of, in the not too distant future, we'll be ready for the next class of 911.
And she can't use 911 funds to pay for those positions anyway, right?
Teletype, not if they're doing, because
That's what I mean.
the
They got-
teletype operators do work for law enforcement agencies, so it can be used for that, but they also do a lot of work for the prosecuting attorney's office as well as the day report center home confinement. That is not eligible for 911 fees.
Okay, mental hygiene.
Leaving that the same at 49,000. We're currently at 44.69%. As the council knows, that's difficult to project activity. We finished fiscal year 18-19 okay, but if you recall in 17-18, we had a flurry of activity in June that actually resulted in a deficit balance of slightly more than $17,000. So we should be okay this year, but we're just leaving it at $49,000, and that's strictly for mental hygiene transports. And the two new mental hygiene vehicles, the first one should be on the road probably within the next week or so. In fact, you'll see it on your purchase order log. For this Thursday, we had the old equipment, which was still serviceable, taken out of one of the old mental hygiene vehicles and moved into one of the new vehicles about half the price of what it would have cost us for outfitting.
But that doesn't include vehicles.
No, this is strictly
That's just right. I got you.
transport expenses.
Personnel expenses
Right.
from the sheriff's office.
Yep.
So how's that work, Alan? I guess the sheriff supplies the manpower, and we have to versus 700 now?
No, we reimburse if they incur expenses for food. If they have to overnight, that all comes out of the
Okay,
mental
not
hygiene.
personnel.
No, personnel does not. We don't track that separately.
Insurance deductibles in there.
No, that's out of the fleet account.
All right. Capital outlay on our vehicles?
General fund, currently it's set at $400,000. We did revise it. If you look at the revised amount for this current year, it's $664,647 with $380,979 spent to date. We did purchase the mental hygiene transport vehicles outright. If you'll recall, we did the RFP. We got the quotes on the Durangos. We're paying the cost that we would have paid for the Durango out of the general fund, and the sheriff's paying the difference out of the gun fund. We also purchased 4 vehicles for the DRC and home confinement, which we've paid for out of the general fund. We did not finance any of those 6 vehicles. The programmed payments for the 52 vehicles that the council previously authorized is 30. It's actually 3 different loans totaling $30,738.15 a month, which is $368,857.80 in payments for the 57 vehicles. I've requested $550,000 only because we really didn't build in, and it came up during some previous discussions that we had. When we have a vehicle, and I'll use one of the 2019 Dodge Durangos.
One of the two.
The one looks like it's going to be totaled. One of the brand new Durangos. We've never had one of our new police pursuit vehicles totaled this early on, so we're not sure what the reimbursement from the risk pool will be. But as soon as they're put into service, the depreciated value goes down quite a bit. So I built in $181,142 for the cost of potential replacement vehicles next year.
So why don't we require some specific training?
Well, we've had the risk pool come in and do driver's safety training. It's been a couple years ago. As you know, we had one of the sheriff's department sheriff's candidates come in last month or so, indicating that they have some approved training available. The money's in the sheriff's budget for training. It just hasn't been accessed probably as much as it should have.
No, I said, why don't we require it? You didn't really answer my question.
Council decides you want to have it done. First thing they need to do is get some backing training on how to back a vehicle. Run into it.
That would be more effective.
No, I mean,
Provide them with alternative vehicles.
John,
well,
alternative.
what I'm saying is, I mean, if we're providing the vehicles and they want to continue to get new vehicles, that shouldn't be an unreasonable request that they require a certain amount of level of training for the people that are driving these vehicles. I mean, I wouldn't think that's an unreasonable request that happens, especially with the problems that we're currently having. I think they're gonna continue to want new vehicles, right? That's not gonna change.
I somewhat agree with you, and I hate to say it this way, but there's some things training's not gonna fix.
That's right. Training is not going to fix what happened yesterday. Backing into a pole. That's just stupid.
I don't, I will respectfully disagree, because when you start talking about distracted drivers training is when you do things just like you're talking about. You back into a pole because you're not paying attention to what you're doing, paying attention to something else. I think that's part of distracted driver training.
Oh, and that's probably right. Putting your seatbelt on while you're backing up is a distraction.
That's probably part of the training. You stop and adjust the mirrors and put your seatbelt on and all that before you drop it into drive. You know what I mean?
Or, as we've experienced, getting out of your car before you've stopped it. And letting it continue in gear to go. That's,
Greg,
you would think that people, if they have a driver's license, would know not to
You
do
ever see a
that.
black truck, you guys all banged up? Like 3 times they just drove off on it. One was right out front here, actually, went down over there.
I think the way you get around some of that is we don't auction off all the vehicles. Next time we have a rotation of sheriff's cars, we're gonna keep the whole ones.
Rather than
Rotate
strip them
back
out.
in. And if we wreck one that's, it's their fault. Whether it's distraction or whatever, that's the vehicle.
Well, I think you can request. I don't think it's an unreasonable request.
Well,
You know,
I think he's planning on,
I agree with
Huh?
I think he's planning on going training. He asked for 3 times the budget.
Yeah. I mean, especially if we're funding the training, why would they not do training?
Here's what it is. Ask him 2 or 3 times more for training. I know one of them went up 3 times. Ask him for 7 more deputies at a cost of 100 people, so that he has time to send people. So, I guess where would it stop? He admitted he asked for everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
So,
I get that too. If you don't ask, you're definitely not gonna get it.
we all agree that something needs to be.
Not gonna get done just talking about it though. Gotta come up with a plan. That's my point.
And the plan is, come back and say you need to take these people training so that we have officers. for the capital outlay, you adjusted it for a possibility of replacement of the vehicle that no fault of the
Correct.
or anybody else.
But that number does not include any money that this council decides to set aside a contingency for the three cops positions.
Right,
that
right.
we can apply for.
Sure.
We'll put those away in contingency.
Correct.
Correct.
The only way he can do that is if he's fully staffed.
That's correct. And we've already heard back from the cops grant that until he can show that he's fully insured or fully staffed, they will not fund the 3 additional positions.
Why would they?
That'd be awful hard for any police department to be fully staffed, not us, it's awfully small.
No.
Especially in today's society.
Unless you created an incubator like we're talking about the same thing at the 911 office. If you can create an
But
incubator,
it can't be in their budget. It'd have to be almost an incubator in contingency. So as part of their budget, you got 10 vacancies. Right?
that would be,
But
if,
I'm-
I could see where, when the sheriff ran the courthouse security or something like that, where they could have used that as something like that, or some, somebody had talked to me, I talked to you about using a fully funded grant position for other things, community things that you can get, where, you hire, individual to do that. under
Kind of
full
like an
grant.
outreach.
Yeah, and there's a grant for a deputy to do that, and you fund that 100% grant, and then be able to pull them, use them like an
Well,
incubator.
the Maryland State Police has a cadet program, where if you're over the age of 28, between the ages of 18 and 20, you become a cadet. They can use them for traffic control, put them in way stations and things like that to actually begin their training for Maryland State Police Academy. That's been in place for years. that I know of it.
You're not suggesting we take any advice from Maryland.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I think we do it better, but
All right. Any questions on the cap outlay? That concludes your,
yes, sir. Thank you.
You didn't go with contingencies, did you?
Contingency.
never start spending any contingencies.
Well, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, I have not put anything in contingency. I'm actually working on your revenue projections now, and we'll have those for you at your first workshop.
I think last year, Jim, we started out with about, what, $20,000 or $50,000 in contingency, and anything we have left over in our budget, that's where we put it.
This thing has $272,963.
And that's what was left over, rolled over from revenue projections to what the consensus of the full council was at the end of the workshop.
Yeah, it was the actual, some of the unencumbered fund balance at the end of the year, the actual unencumbered fund balance at the projection. Well, we can take a quick break. Mr. Captain's not here yet. I see one of his board members is here, so.
Actually, right.
back in session. Next on our agenda, Steve Cotton, Director of Berkeley County Parks and Rec, budget presentation for 2021. Good afternoon, sir. The rowdy group you brought today.
I feel a little bit overdressed. I went and bought a new jacket, a new pair of pants.
We did
Just to
too.
come to this meeting today. All of y'all have jeans on, so I said, what the heck?
Well, I was getting ready to say, I like the jacket. It's a good looking jacket you got on there.
Well, I thought this might be the last time I come up and give a budget presentation. to you. I'm gonna stay around for a while, but it may not be, I shouldn't be executive director for another month or so. So I'm looking forward to, just taking care of better building projects and parks and doing the part of the job I enjoyed most at this point in my life. And I want to introduce my cohorts and he's Prime with me. You know Jim Rickard. You know Jerry Lee. Jerry is actually our board president right now. And he is a county employee. Roger Engel. Johnny Taylor, who's a county appointee. And Teresa Bennett's our finance officer. We just got our official audit back a day or so ago and passed with flying colors again for the 40-some year in a row, I guess. So, actually, in the old days, we only had to do it every 2 or 3 years. I guess, how many years have we been doing it once a year now? We've been doing it, so probably the last 15 or 20, we do it annually now. So, of course, we got to get that approved, whoever does it through the state. But anyway, I wanted to just open it up for questions, but before I did, I just want to tell you some highlights. And in April, I've been here 44 years, and I can honestly say in 44 years, the best thing ever happened to public recreation in Berkeley County was almost 40 years ago, 30-some years ago, when we got the hotel motel tax passed. And then, how many years ago was it got doubled? And even though our part's discretionary, we have been receiving half that tax from the city and county since its beginning.
Right.
And in the last 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years, it's been combined $600,000 plus.
Right.
All-time high.
Pushing 700, I think, now.
Well, actually, this year is the first time now in 5 years. It's actually, after 7 months of this fiscal year, we're down $42,700 from the previous year. Okay. That's city and county combined.
Right.
But still, even it's going to end up being probably $600,000 a year. And you know, I mean, honestly, we could not live without it. Okay, I mean, it's been our godsend, our saving grace, and it's kept us afloat all these years. And when the years are real good like they've been, it has freed up money for us to take care of things that it's on a list of needs that in other years we didn't have the funds to do. And one, for instance, is the lake dredging at the farm. And I'm pleased to stand here today and tell you it's completed. We've been trying for 3 years to get it done. It needed it desperately. If you drive out to the farm and see the pile of silt and sediment that we've removed, you'd be astonished.
So what's the name of that pond?
It is now, Rickard Lake.
Yeah.
Lane and I were discussing, when did you build that?
That thing opened to the public for fishing in 1998. And Jim, of course, was very instrumental in volunteering all his time. We got donated equipment from the Woods Resort and a couple other places. And we built that pond for $70-some thousand. And the contractor price would have been over $250,000 back then. I was told on the dredging project, I had several contractors there, that it would cost over $100,000 to dredge the lake. And I just passed out an expense sheet today, and we got it done for around $40,000.
You rented a piece of equipment, so you had somebody operating it?
I had Pittsnogle come in and operate it, he and his son, because it was a long reach excavator. Right. It ended up being the perfect piece of equipment to do it. I thought it was going to take probably 20-some days. We got it dredged in 12 days, And it couldn't have gone any better, considering how warm it's been and how wet it's been.
One of the worst things for lake slash pond, lake would be 3 acres or more, but is the leaves, the compost coming off, and just the leaves getting in the pond, which creates the silt, a lot of the silt in the bottom.
The deep end of the lake, when we built it, was 11 foot deep, and it was less than 7 before we started.
Right.
We got it back over 10 again. So we probably removed 90% of the silt. The other thing that's really important this time, now that we have it dredged, is we're going to proceed with aeration into the lake because it will keep silt from building. Other thing that's a big silt buildup is because of all the geese we had out there here, the fertilization of the dirt and the soil sediment, the underwater growth in this warm season is just unbelievable thick. And then when it gets cold, it dies and then it decays and it becomes part of your silt too.
Now, do you use any dye or anything to keep it dark?
We do
so you
not,
know?
but the aeration itself
Will do that.
will do a lot of that, and that's going to be the key. If we follow through on that, which we are, it'll probably be 30 plus years before it'll have to be considered to be done again.
So
Estimate.
you still have another phase on the lake on trying to disperse the dirt that came out and air it out?
Well, that's we had to have an approved dump site, which is on the property. If we want to move it from where it is, even within the park itself or other parks, we have to get permission from the DNR and DEP to do that. That's part of the regulations. I think it'll be something that we'll be able to get because we got a tremendous amount. And of course, where I've been thinking is if we ever get to develop the Allensville property out of Waste Management gave with the county for a park, there's no topsoil on that site. So if we can build fields out there and have enough topsoil to do all the outfields and on every field we built, so but we will have to get approval from those agencies to move it. So, but we're going to have a tremendous pile of good topsoil there within a year or so, maybe by late summer.
Keep track of loads, or
I can tell you, we hauled for 12 days and we averaged almost 50 loads a day. So
600 loads.
yeah, it's unbelievable.
Have about 40 yards a load, 20 yards. No,
Yeah, we use tandems. We use
tandem, all
tandems.
tandems, 15, 18.
And that helped too. But we weren't sure if we could use tandems or not. We thought we were going to have to bring utes in or haul trucks on. And that would have tore up a lot of ground, tore up our roads. We tried it with tandems, it worked really well. And it slid out of the back of them better than we thought. So, but it's a huge thing for this county to get that lake dredged. And now it's going to be good for 30 plus years. It's the only public fishing except for Sleepy Creek in all Berkeley now. Okay? And I can't tell you how many people. And even more than I realized, when we started dredging and the attention it drew, especially when a few fish died, everybody got like crazy about it. How many people stopped out there and, you know, fish there with my grandson, I fish there with my son, blah, blah, blah. It's unbelievable. And it is just used to death. It really is. So, it's going to be in great shape for a long time. And the state's going to help us, DNR is going to help us restock the other species besides trout. And in a couple, another, you know, by the fall, it'll be a wonderful, well, we're going to start trout fishing later this month, so maybe this week.
Can you get a permit to put grass carp in there?
We put some in there at one time. And in fact, we got one out. It was over 4 foot long and weighed about 40 pounds or more. So, but they were sterile and they stayed approved. And we put them in years ago. They're supposed to eat all the underwater growth. And as fast as that stuff was growing, they couldn't begin to keep up.
Have to have enough of them.
Yeah.
But they didn't want them to multiply because they'll take your pond over. So.
Yeah.
We had a pond that was silting in like that with leaves.
Yeah.
And that fish would come up there, just open its mouth up and just the leaf would just,
Yeah.
he'd inhale it.
Yeah.
Did their job. We had about six or eight of them in a pond about twice as big as this.
So
But
you
it's-
you come up with a plan for the geese?
We did 3 years ago. We don't have any geese in. We haven't had geese in. we rent the barn $1,200 on a Saturday for weddings, and people are for the wedding dress up trying to walk through the grass because they're stepping in goose stumps every 2 steps. And 3 years ago, we got into a contract agreement with Wildlife Services. They do work at the airport.
Right.
Government, federal agency. The first year was a challenge to get rid of the 350 adult geese that were living there year round. Once they got rid of those now, they scoop them out of there. I drive out to the poorhouse and see a flock of geese. I get on the phone and text them to there the next day. So it's been wonderful. Worked out really well. And at a pretty affordable cost. It costs us about $6,000 a year to contract them. It's worth every penny because we get no complaints from the reservation, the weddings and all. So it's worked out really well. The other couple big projects that we've been working on, of course, is the expansion of the Randy Smith Center in Inglewood, South Berkeley. We started using the new expansion. We doubled the size of the building from 18.2 to over 19,000 more square feet, so we're over 37,000 square feet now. We started using it in January. We're still not complete yet because we have 2,900 square feet of conference room space that's unfinished. And we weren't able to order the bleachers, the permanent bleachers for the gym yet. Then a couple weeks ago, you probably read Buzz Colin and his wife have donated now $100,000. So we have the bleachers ordered, and we're getting ready to start finishing the meeting rooms probably next week. So we're going to get the entire expansion completed now with his donation. And we now have a $37,000 facility, or 37 square foot facility worth about $5 million. Wonderful addition to the community, but particularly in South Berkeley County, which is very
They're very
fast.
community-minded people down
They,
there. Sure.
they love the facility and they're using it every day. The school uses it every day. And it's a wonderful facility.
And that was a great partnership that you all developed with the school board
Yeah.
on that.
The first phase cost $2.1 million, but we didn't have to build parking. It was already there by the school property. We didn't have to buy the land because they let us use their property. So that in itself saved $1 million or more.
Sure.
And so we got a new facility that opened in 2013 for 2.1. Our most recent investment now has been about a $2 million project.
Do you look at more relationships like that in the future?
We have them with the school system all the time.
Right.
They use our facilities, we use theirs. We've shared facilities down at the Spring Hills complex where the new high school is, and we've worked with them very well. Manny was great to work with. I've probably been in meetings 5 or 6 times with the new superintendent, and I think he's going to be very positive in terms of, at least he has said to me that he believes that the schools should be used after hours, weekends, and stuff by the community too, because the taxpayers are going to build these schools. So it should just be for school use only.
Yeah.
And as I keep reminding, all we're doing is recreating the kids you educate every day. So it's been a really good relationship with them. And to this day, we're still the only park and rec department in the state of West Virginia that our governing agencies that created us includes the Board of Ed along with the city and county. In fact, there's very few that's even a combined city-county, but we have 3 governing agencies that appoint members to our board, help fund us. We were sweating the excess levy vote like they were because their whole contribution was coming from the excess levy vote. Now it's locked in for 5 more years. That was a wonderful thing. And believe me, they used us on point to help promote that and get it passed. So I'm trying to remind them of that to maybe up the ante. So there's no meeting here.
We're
Right.
on free broadcast
Yeah.
live though.
Yeah. Oh, you are?
Oh,
Yeah.
Every
Right
day.
behind.
Every
Oh, God. All right. Well, I told them the same thing, so it's not saying something I haven't said. So. And then the last thing, bigger project, I guess you would call, is the development of Goldie Gibbons Dog Park in Bennington, about 1.25, 1.25 acres. Hope to open it up in April. We're going to have a dedication there in May, which we'll invite you to, of course. We'll have a dedication for the Randy Smith in May. Randy wanted to wait. We were going to have one this month, and he wanted to wait till it's completely finished to dedicate the new wing. And it's just really positive stuff going on in our community for Parks and Rec. So, as I mentioned, the hotel motel tax is being the most significant funding source since I've been here. There's another potential here that I need your help is to get House Bill 2967 passed. John Hardy has introduced that for the second year in a row. Last year, we got it through the House, it died in the Senate.
What bill number is that?
It's 2967. We need to get on it and get on it right now and get the Senate to pass the thing. And what it is, a third of the property transfer tax that the state keeps is to send the money back to the counties where it's generated, the growth areas, so we can address the quality of life in those counties. The whole state collects $12 million, and last year, 1.8 million comes from Berkeley County. And we need it desperately back here. The unfortunate thing is they're going to phase it in over 10 years because they certainly can't afford to cough up $12 million, with the $4 billion budget. So they're going to cough up 10% a year for 10 years until it's full amount. Now, the key is once it comes back to the county, they didn't put any stipulations on it. It'll be totally your decision as to how it's spent. But all I can tell you is John Hardy would never introduce the bill if we didn't count him to do it, okay? And if it gets passed, it's not a new tax, so it's an existing tax, so no one's going to fuss about it, which is a good thing about it. And potentially, it could be $1 million+ a year that we can go to North and South Berkeley County and buy some real acreage, and then have funds to develop Allensville, North and South Berkeley County, and have the money to do this. And it could be even have a more of an impact on our budget, at least in terms of development, than what this hotel motel tax is. The hotel motel tax, we basically had to use it to run our budget, to operate it. And hopefully this new tax, we can use it exclusively if it gets through to buy land and develop the property. And that would be a wonderful thing. You all see the number of rooftops every day that I see when I ride around this county, and they keep building. And they ain't making no more land. And we've got to find a way to buy some land, particularly in our county areas. Desperately. And I've said that to you every year for the past 10 years.
You know how many new addresses we recorded last year?
I mean,
1,149.
yeah, that's the point.
1146.
And it just, we've got to set aside some acreage.
939.
I mean, we're trying to talk to the school board now, has 10 acres off exit 20, which is 901, on the west side of 81, St. Andrews Road 901, that they're never going to use. It's a heavily wooded area, but we're trying to talk them into releasing it so they can be developed and do open space in the park.
They're aggressive, well, they're looking for land themselves.
Right. But it's obviously too small thing for them to consider, so it's in Back Creek Valley and try to set up some acres. Whether it's developed right away or not, we got to preserve that for our future. We may not be around when it's developed, but it would be a really smart thing to do if we can make this happen. And so, to me, this House Bill 2967 is the closest thing that we could start getting some real money from and make that a reality. I need your help to try to get the Senate to pass that.
So would there be, I'm thinking as we were talking, and I was working with John Hardy on this bill too last year, but would there be a possibility of, how reverse mortgages are done? Looking to Andy.
Yes, sir.
And actuary does that on the projections. What would be wrong with doing something like that for future land purchases? Actually, price that you could pay to keep somebody in there on the property, but it would be prorated over on the projection of how long it's going to live.
Comparable to a life estate.
Exactly. So why could we? I mean, the problem is it doesn't. We've been having this conversation at least for 8 years or more as an individual now elected official. But if they were able to kind of prepay for a piece of property, knowing or projecting that that person wants it to go in Parks and Rec.
The Historic Landmarks Commission is a piece of property that has state.
Mm-hmm.
You have precedent of doing that already.
Okay, because I mean, Ms. Falk, you had the gentleman out there on Poorhouse Road that had a piece of property that wanted to be public land.
But it ended up going through farmland, which
Right,
blocked
right.
it out.
But ideally, he wanted to stay in.
He wanted it here. John Concert.
Concert.
John Concert.
On
Right.
concert.
But he would have probably preferred it to be.
He wanted it to come to us for Parks and Rec, that's what he wanted.
Right.
We didn't have the funds to give him any money to do it, so he needed money, so he had to take money for the easement. He's passed away since, and the problem, I have nothing against farmland
We're not-
protection.
Yeah, we're not
You know,
gonna.
But all I'm saying is you can't use farmland protected land for public parkway. Can't do it, they won't allow it. And
Right, but so it's creative, just like the school boards are asking, you know, how can we start locking down land that is outside the box?
right.
That's one way to do it. But as you say, you have to have the funds to purchase the land for today. And
This new bill could be the funding source that could do that. It really
No,
could.
no.
I mean, it has a chance to make a major impact on our whole
Sure.
county and city for public parks.
or get us our 1 cent sales tax if we want.
Either one, I like them both. Let's get them both.
still have
Let Parks and
Sportsman's
Rec have all the
Paradise.
property transfer tax money, and y'all keep the 1%. But we need $1 million a year to do this thing right. I'm not gonna be here to do it properly, but you know, I've got a passion for this thing, and I don't want it to not grow and not be here for the community. I've got grandkids growing up in this community, and we gotta do it. We gotta do it. It's our responsibility to get it done. And we can't let this opportunity go by. And you gotta get Blair, you gotta get Trump, Rucker. Good luck with John. I can't get him on the phone. And get this thing done. I mean, it just, and if not, then we gotta figure out another way to do it. I mean, you know the challenge, as much as I do, worse than that, we all have a bigger challenge than we have.
Yeah, we had the sheriff want another $1.5 million of the money that you're asking for.
Yeah.
Everybody wants more and more.
I
You know, we'll do our best, that's for sure, because we do want to, you know, make sure that we can improve upon our quality of life in Berkeley County.
I can tell you this, John Hardy is totally committed, and he doesn't introduce the bill if it wasn't for trying to help our public park system here in Berkeley and Jefferson County. And that's the whole motive behind him introducing the bill in the first place. And, you know, tried to get for a couple of years, I worked on trying to get the farmland protection money split where the county could decide either to buy parkland or buy easements, and they have a choice, and that didn't work. So to me, this is the next best step, and even better, because the state should be giving that money back where it's generated from, because those are the growth counties that are experiencing all the needs, and give it back to us, you know. And I like to use the term, it's a no-brainer. It's a shame. I think that we had no worries if they weren't, you know, their budget all of a sudden got tight this year. Last year was pretty good. I think because he was going to make it 5 years instead of 10, but I guess he got pressured to make it 10 because that only takes $1 million out of their budget a year for the first couple of years. So
All right, so let's get back down to your budget request.
Yeah.
Because I got
question.
4 o'clock meeting.
So how many questions? We need half the hotel tax again to survive. We're asking for $112.5 for general fund allocation, $50,000 for capital improvements.
And that's been your request every year. Last
It has.
year on, the general fund, we gave you $74,000 and we gave you $10,000 on capital improvement, but we also have been giving you money to improve, some structures throughout the county, mainly poorhouses.
Well, we have this stuff.
Right, but we've also done upgrades to the HVAC, I think the electrical, the roof,
Roof on the stone house.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, also help
and the beams.
with the phone system and everything else. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so, all right. Any questions for Steve or any of the board members?
Nope.
Thank y'all for the work you did.
Appreciate anything you can do.
Roger, what's the deal with the new book? Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Steve, thanks for steering the ship.
Okay. Appreciate it.
All right, any items from the public? If not, Mr. Barnhart,
Mr. President, move to recess.
you're on recess.
I'll get you an email that to you.
Okay. She found it?
Did she
I
find
bet
it?
they
or-
can